we are going to talk about a little bit of Super Sentai news. All right, so starting us off, we are going to talk about the Power Rangers reboot. We found out recently that they are going to be having 1 hour long episodes, which is quite different than what we're used to with the typical 22, 23-minute episodes that we grew up with. So, Ben, what are your thoughts on extending to a format that is an hour instead of like 22 minutes?
I'm excited for it, and you and I've bounced ideas back and forth on it quite a bit. Um, I really want to see, I want to see what they do with it. Um, I do have some concerns, especially if they lean into the teenage drama tropes of an hour-long series. Hopefully, those fears aren't warranted. Because I and nothing against anything in that genre or anything but people who like that style of storytelling. I'm not a fan of dramas or any dramatization of it, and so it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the reboot. An hour-long episode is definitely going to give us room for a lot more storytelling. I mean, if you're looking at Cosmic Fury, it was 10 episodes, 23, 25 minutes each. So
Yeah,
it was
they were a
so
little
if
short for me. I felt they needed to be longer to get some of those
yeah.
because they were doing a lot of deeper themes with Cosmic Fury that they hadn't done in other seasons. It would have been nice to had a little more time to spend on some of those themes. Now, I definitely see what you mean though, that you kind of worry that they're going to make Riverdale with Power Rangers is the thing that we don't really want to see because it still needs to be about Power Rangers. I think we talked about it the other day. The way that I see it is it needs to be something more similar to something like Cobra Kai, where yes, you're gonna have the high school drama because if you're going back to the teenagers with attitude trope, that's just gonna be something that pops up with it. But let's solve all of our problems with karate. I don't know, like there's a way to be tongue in cheek with it to where it's not overly cheesy and also not too overly 90210.
Yeah, like it's one thing about Power Rangers is that it was always been tongue in cheek. It didn't take itself too seriously, especially the series that I watched growing up anyway. And so, and you and I've talked about that before when we see some of these fan projects that lean so heavy into the more mature storytelling, and they sometimes forget the tongue in cheek aspect that
Yeah,
makes it human, that makes it humanly appealing. That that is a concern. I don't want to see that happen in the reboot.
yeah,
It'll,
definitely.
it'll be it'll be interesting to see if them strike that happy medium of oh these are people too, tongue in cheek. Let's
Yeah,
build that pathos instead of just relying on
yeah.
plot point. So that's that. I'm really hoping the writers and the showrunners really look at what the series has succeeded at
Yeah.
and just build on that in a proper format that gives us something new,
Yeah.
but a hint of legacy to it.
Well, with having that hour long, you do have more time to go and flesh out like their high school lives and things like that, because you have to imagine like 60% of the episodes were typically just them doing the suits and the fighting and everything with just like a sprinkling, just the smallest of sprinkling of like a plot that makes it make somewhat of sense. So,
Yeah,
having that little bit of time to spend more outside of the suits, or as they might say, beneath the helmet, which is the new book that is coming out from Renegade Games, the tabletop role-playing game that we will be playing on April
nice
3rd.
segue,
You like that
nice
segue? Was
plug.
that it? Was that
That
was
was
that one good
nice.
for you?
That was nice. That was very tongue in cheek. Well done.
I do what I can. I do what I can. But yeah, we have a new book that is going to be coming out, which I have already I was a game master for this when I was still living in Orlando. And I
Mhm.
really enjoy this system. It is a fantastic system that I would say is great for people that are just getting into tabletop role playing games. And I can understand if the Power Rangers aesthetic might not fit for you, but this system, the Essence 20 system, also is what is ran for GI Joe, My Little Pony, Transformers. There's other things that you can play with this same system. So even if Power Rangers might not be your flavor, I still say Renegade Games has a fantastic system on their hands. But yeah, going into a book that's going to be more on the ground, uh going into the going into their high school lives or day-to-day lives, not even necessarily high school. What do you think about a book that hits more on that?
That I'm very excited for it, dude. Like it should have been one of those things that was included in the core book. I get the aesthetic of wanting to be like, yes, we're Power Rangers, dive into the power, do the superhero thing. But what made Spider-Man so great was Peter Parker's struggle.
Yeah.
What makes Iron Man so great is Tony Stark's struggle, and that's what you're wanting to see, and you're wanting to see, like, especially if you're embracing this trope and playing in this world, the all this, you're wanting to embrace every facet of it, not just I'm a hero, hear me roar, and being able to really dive into life outside of literally from life outside the helmet, outside the call to saving the world. It's going to give more depth and more weight to the storytelling moments of being a ranger and really getting to explore that a bit more. I'm excited to see what game masters do with it, and it can really create some incredible storytelling moments.
Now, did we already know what did they already say the new Rangers were going to be included with this one? Because it's been pretty common that they usually come with like 2 to 3, I believe, each book that comes out.
Yes, they have. Let me double check real quick. I think Aqua.
I think that might have been
Uh,
one of them. Because I know that we
um,
already have one of the books you can be where you can go and look up different aliens. So you have the aliens from Aquitar already as a playable race in the game.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The because it's going to include because beneath the helmet series, it says here yeah, they'll content along with story ideas for teenagers with attitude, not merely Power Rangers. I'm gonna be including Dino Charge and Dino Thunder Rangers. That is awesome. Zords
Cool.
and equipment. The new player options includes Aqua, Graphite, and Dark Ranger role options.
I'm curious at how those will
So,
play because we were recently looking at the purple one, and it's an interesting but very odd play style. I definitely want to sit down and read it over a little bit and kind of figure out how it would even play, but
mhm,
it was definitely different than anything we've seen. So they're playing with the formula, and I do like
mhm.
that.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see what they pull off with the Dark Ranger option. That's going to be cool. I want to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
And so that's
Yeah, I
going to be
mean,
pretty cool.
so it's nice to see that we're still getting, books because you always worry with one of these systems that it's going to come out, it's going to be something that you're going to love, and it's just going to end up not getting any more support. Not saying that you need support from the company to continue playing a tabletop game, but getting those
Mhm.
official supplements sometimes are really, really nice.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. And I mean, and not only getting those books, we also have some word from looks like the booksamillion.com that we are possibly going to be getting a Power Rangers novel as well. Now,
Yeah.
this is interesting. I don't think we've ever got a novel in the Power Rangers universe before, have we? Not to the best of my knowledge.
I don't know if it's books. Yeah, that we've had books and stuff. Powers. We're not including the comic books and stuff. Those
Right.
they
Yeah. Not like
in the
Boom
early
Studios comics. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because like in the early '90s, they were pushing everything
Well,
Power
yeah,
Rangers
but
brand,
I mean like a book, not like a kid's kind
like a
of right.
novelization.
Yeah, I didn't think that we
Um,
had anything like that I had seen.
um, not that I know of. Definitely could be wrong. If you guys find something on it, let us know.
Yeah,
We couldn't find anything,
not that I
but
know of.
yeah, and so it's interesting to see. It's definitely being, of course,
There's not a lot of
by
information on it.
there's not a lot of information like by the author. It literally just says by Hasbro Inc.
Yeah.
and
I mean,
and
I'm
it's
all for like a young adult Power Ranger novelization. I think I'm here for it, especially because you don't have to go exactly like the show. You could very well feed into like the dramatized like I don't know what they call it. It's not a podcast, but you know what I'm saying. Like that web
yeah.
series that they did, where you just listen to them,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. Like it's
a dramatized
like
reading, I guess.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
It's like like an audio drama.
yeah, it's an audio
But
drama. That's
like based on the description here, it says like this series will explore the origins of where the Power Rangers powers, as well as the origins of some of their greatest villains. Spotlighting an evil academy for villains, readers will learn the evolution of Rita Repulsa, Astronema, and more.
that sounds like
So
Wicked with Power Rangers.
kind of. That's
I'm here for
yeah,
that. I want to hear Rita Repulsa singing Defying Gravity. Sign me up, ma'am.
like in the original voice, just that squealy,
Oh
squalling it.
god, I would love that. That makes it that much better if we have Rita scratching out those high notes.
Dude, someone's going to AI that.
I
That's
hope
going to be
so.
horrible.
Please do.
That's going
Somebody
to be
that's better with
horrible.
technology than I. Go ahead.
That is going to be horrible.
Oh yeah, but
But
I'm enjoying that we're getting stuff like that though, because if you're like a Power Ranger fan back in the day, and even going into today, a lot of the times it felt like, oh, this is a series that is mostly just meant for like 8-year-olds and stuff. But yeah, like, if you're a fan of the comics, you'll know that
Mhm.
it's not like 90s grungy Marvel trying to be tough type of like dark, but it's darker than what you would expect for a normal like Power Rangers. Like it takes a story that you could still show like somebody probably 10, 11, 12 years old and it not be like offensive or anything, but it's something that's more Marvel-esque where the whole family could type of enjoy it. Though
Yeah,
I
like
feel like.
yeah. Oh yeah, I mean the comics when the story came out in the comics, dude, it made waves. Everyone knows that. Boom Studios made waves with their stories.
Yeah.
And still are. I mean, 8 years later, they're still turning heads going this is some awesome storytelling. It's been really good stuff. So I'm interested to see um, who they plugged in for this novelization. Like I want to know anything about the writers. I want to know if it's some of the same team, is it new people coming into play with it?
Because you didn't
Like
say it was Boom Studios related to it, so it might not even be connected with that lore.
it might not be. So it's because it just says it's by Hasbro Inc. And so then from everything I can see, there's no information about the author yet.
Well,
And
because I
so,
know in the comic books, we know who the first Rangers were, because
Mhm.
they were related. If you're going back and read, I believe it's Power Rangers Unlimited, the one that has the Phantom Ranger in the past. You
Mhm.
get to meet them, and what's funny is they use the suits from the season that the White Ranger was from in the Sentai. Like they're like the OGs,
Yeah,
and it's interesting. I believe they even become the morphing masters in lore, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, they
Um,
do.
yeah,
They do.
so
It's
it's kind of interesting that it's similar to how I feel with Amy Jo Johnson's current comic that is coming out, where like we
mhm.
have established Ranger lore, but they're kind of doing Elseworld stuff. Like Amy Jo Johnson's comic book, where it's like the return of Kimberly, and like it just takes all of the lore that we've had ever since like from her leaving on and kind of throws it out the window and just gives a whole different perspective. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like we already have good established lore, but we don't get Amy Jo very often doing stuff with the community, so at least we're getting something. We already have really good comic lore going on here. So how do you feel about it?
Well, I am personally not like I'm happy for any and all Power Rangers content,
Yeah.
but I would really like Power Rangers content to respect established canon.
Mhm.
And
Which is
but
already
I understand.
difficult with Power Rangers as is. Like you have us like doing a lot of the heavy lifting to link together the canon as it be sometimes. So
Well, it's even then, it's not so heavy as everyone knows the infamous Dear John letter, and it's like
yeah,
everyone knows
Kim,
it.
you don't get a whole new comic after that.
Like it's and there's a lot of other stuff surrounding the idea
Yeah.
of the return, and I say be respectful to the lore, knowing that we're about to do a fan led tabletop RPG story in the Power Rangers,
I
so
can include I can literally come up with a story that messes with the lore none. None.
right, same.
Easily.
Right. And like and so like it's know where you came from, know the story that people have fallen in love with. I it makes it come across more fan fiction than anything else.
It not only that, it also comes off kind of I don't feel like doing the work to know what the lore was. I'm just gonna because I would love to see what Kim becomes because she doesn't end up with Tommy. They don't have a kid together. We know that. Like,
Yeah,
come on, that's a very established lore at this point.
it is, and that's yeah, because we know JJ, Tommy and Kat's son,
Yeah,
it becomes the Green SPD Ranger. Like that's been established. Like it's a thing. I
exactly, and the
just
fans love it.
yeah, and I don't know. Like I know there was a lot of the fan base I could see was really upset when the return was announced.
A lot of feel it was distasteful because of the timing as well.
The timing and like there were rumors that talked about how Jason David Frank and had actually proposed the story to Amy Jo Johnson and to Saban.
Yeah,
And I don't want to dive into that really because all it is speculation and we don't know for it's true. I don't want to
very
churn
true.
that wheel, but it's worth noting that if that is true, if that's a thing, it knowing that a void had been left in the fandom and trying to fill it, appreciated, But I'd rather see that void like filled with respect to the story it's in place,
Absolutely.
and that's how I feel about it. But I'm also a stickler for just do right by the story that's established if it's
Felt
something that people do enjoy.
very felt.
And so otherwise actually advertise it as no, this is alternate universe. This is, if we can have alternate universe where evil Tommy took over everything, spoilers, then cool.
Yeah,
But it was established that
right.
that was an alternate.
And that's the
Um,
thing is, yeah, she's acting like the Boom Studios comics aren't even there, even though when this is published under Boom Studios.
yeah, and that's how I feel about it, dude. Is yeah, it's great. I want to see incredible stories told by incredible, female leads. I want to see all of that. I definitely do.
Yeah.
And I think the impact of an incredible female lead, we saw it in Cosmic Fury. I think, um,
Yeah.
yeah,
We have
Hunter,
some amazing female leads throughout Power Ranger history when you look.
yeah, yeah. Like I mean, and they were able to do it in the established canon and leave a permanent mark. I mean, Jen Scott's alone in
My,
Time
my
Force left such a
favorite
huge mark.
Pink Ranger of all time, old Jen Scott.
Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, seeing the new Red Ranger and Cosmic Fury just
Oh,
leave a mark.
she did a good job. As much as I could not stand her character when the series started, I did not like her at all. I will admit it. It is a stupid reason. It is a very stupid reason. I cannot stand shoulder pads, and they kept putting her in shoulder pads for so many of her news outfits. I know it's a stupid reason to dislike a character, but it's enough because I had to look at those awful, and they still put her. You know what they ended up doing? They added shoulder pads to the freaking costumes in Cosmic Fury. Like, I know it's
That's
stupid,
great.
man, but I can't stand the shoulder pads.
I get it. So overlooking the shoulder pads, Amelia Jones did a fantastic job
She did.
leading her team,
She did.
and it was good. Like in Hunter Tino's performance was great.
Mhm.
Like they were able to turn established canon into their favor and left a mark to really, in my opinion, really crowned the ending of the series
Yeah,
as we know it.
as we know it. Yeah.
So it was able to create within the established canon and leave their mark. And then here we have something like the return that's like, oh, we're going to ignore that.
Right.
And here's this story. And it just, like I said, it just comes across as fan fiction to me.
Yeah.
And now, thing is, I love the idea of Olivia Hart.
Mhm.
And if Olivia ends up becoming canon, kind of like how Lord Draken did,
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see Jenna Frank jump in that
That
because
would
I
be
know that
cool.
is
It'd be cool.
because I say that only
People are
because I
pushing
know
it. We don't know what her acting skills are or anything. It's very much and I understand people want to see it simply
Mhm.
because of, who her dad is, and you
Yes.
really want to see it because we all miss him. And we do miss we miss our Tommy. We miss JDF like so much. But
Yeah.
if she we don't know if she's a good actor, and I hate to be that type of a person, but I would almost rather, if we were going to do that character, to find someone that has the acting skills. Not saying that she doesn't. I would give her an audition just for that fact, but I feel like
Oh
it's
yeah.
doing a disservice if we just kind of threw her on there simply because of that.
And I understand that completely. Like I make the statement knowing I'm not saying I agree with that casting.
Yeah,
I know a lot of the fandom is behind her in
sure.
that aspect. I do know we will see her in Legend of the White Dragon.
Yes. So
So that would be
that
good
might
to
be a
see.
good audition tape.
Like it's going to be good. Like I'm anxious to see how it works, and so we'll see. Like, but that's how all of it just felt for me. Is the getting back to the return. It's just fan fiction,
Yeah,
and that and it's cool. Like, I mean, the people
marketed
make a
as
living
such.
writing. People, yeah, marketed as such. People make a living doing fan fiction, and I have no problem with fan fiction. Just know your product, and it's one thing to lean on being an OG Ranger and going, yep, because I'm an OG Ranger, this OG Ranger push
Yeah.
for canon. And remember, Amy Jo Johnson was my first Pink Ranger,
Oh yeah.
and at 4 years old, I was like, she is very pretty. I was one of those kids,
She was a lot
and
of people's first crush,
right.
you know.
Oh yeah, well, I didn't know what crush was at 4. Like I was still
Right,
figuring
right.
that out. But
Um,
yeah,
but yeah,
and
so
so it
moving on from the books and everything, we got one non-Power Ranger related thing. I know that we're supposed to be talking all sorts of tokusatsu. It's just that's a lot
yes,
of what
thank
we
you.
end up getting. But we had a trailer for Ultraman Rising. Ultraman Rising, for anybody that's not a fan of the not already a fan of the Ultraman series, we've been getting some cool animated series over on Netflix. And if you're not already watching as well on YouTube, you can watch Ultraman Blazar that has an English
Hmm.
dub with Johnny Young Bosch doing it. But Ultraman Rising is a new animated series that is more akin to the OG, whereas the
Hmm.
animated series they did prior to was more of a continuation with his son kind of thing. So you watched this with me. What are your thoughts on
Hmm.
Ultraman Rising?
Oh man, we got Ultraman raising spoilers. It's in the trailer,
It's in
so
the trailer. We're allowed to talk about anything that's in the
yeah.
trailer.
Oh yeah, given a monster baby, that is interesting.
A little
And
Godzuki.
yeah, well, I mean, it's like yeah, mama. It. This is a horrible comparison. Remember the Godzilla cartoon came out in 98, 99.
98, 99. That would have been the one that was based after the. Are you talking
The
about
the
the one,
the, the movie
the Broderick
the
movie?
one movie. Yeah, it was a cartoon. It was based on the Broderick movie,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
movie
yeah.
that shall
I
not be
remember
named.
that.
Yeah, and like the Godzilla in that one was like imprinted on Nick Totopoulos,
Yeah.
and so Nick Totopoulos was basically Mama. It's the that's the vibe it gives me. But they seem to be ready to deliver it in a more fun
Mhm.
uh plot point
It
because
does
the
not
gods.
look like deep cut Ultraman lore. This looks like here's a
Yeah,
fun kind of goofy one that would be probably a good jumping in point for like getting your kids into Ultraman. Because
yeah,
if you're wanting to just get into like some real Ultraman stuff, go watch Ultraman Blazar. Like it's
yeah,
really good. But if you're just wanting
absolutely,
to introduce somebody, you're wanting something to throw on in the background, something you can watch with the kids. 'Cause I yeah, it looks like
yeah.
Ultraman Rising is perfect for that.
Oh yeah, and we know like I mean Ultraman has such a history and so many eras of storytelling. Like, let's see if I can pull it up here. Because I know the past decade plus, Ultraman has seen a major resurgence
It's because they
in
put
just
in
some
a lot more
incredible.
effort with their international marketing as opposed to like Super Sentai that is very much just trying to market to the Japanese audience.
Yes, and and the stories that they're telling now they seem to just they have more. They're doing more with it, and they're doing it. It's incredible. And I know, like I started watching it on Tokusatsu on Pluto TV, and so you'll see I've seen quite a few Ultraman series over the past few years because of it. And that was actually my first introduction to Ultraman was in 2022.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I mean, everyone had heard of Ultraman. I'd seen like references to Ultraman. I mean, I played Card Fight Vanguard for
yeah.
years, and there was literally a clan called Dimension Police that had like an Ultraman motif deck, and I
Mm,
did not realize that's who it was.
yeah.
And like it was straight. They had Ultraman. They even had like Mecha Suit Dimension Police, like dimensional robos. I was like, and it completely went over my head
Yeah.
because I was just like, wow,
Yeah,
I need to turn.
I love the fact that they are doing a lot to try and have it where it's more friendly to an American audience, because you're
Yeah.
not really getting that with Common Rider, even though in Common Rider Gates they 1000% should have. Like Toei or whoever has the rights, I'm not sure with Geats and everything. Dub that.
Mhm.
Dub that now. That has such a mass appeal. The design, the story, that is the one. If you want to start getting an American audience into Common Rider, Common Rider Geats is the perfect one to do it with. Like Blazar, perfect one to do it with. Like heck, I would even say that King Odra, this whole last slate would be perfect to dub over and introduce an
Yeah.
American audience more to Tokusatsu. Like it was a
Mhm.
perfect middle ground, because I know that the argument there's always been, oh, this might be too Japanese for people. Look, we're engrossed in anime. You look on Netflix now, they have
Yeah.
so many dramas that are dubbed over of Asian speaking, countries and stuff. Their content, especially Korea, has tons of content on Netflix that they're dubbing over now. Why are we not getting that with more Tokusatsu shows? Like Ultraman's figuring it out before any of the other ones do. Please follow that. Follow that lead. We need to see it.
Yeah. Like I'm like King Oger was another thing. Like you brought up, like King Oger King Oger was the first Sentai, I believe, that was been announced like for a while
Yeah,
that did not have any background noise of going, how would this become? What would this be like as a Power Ranger series?
true.
To an American audience.
Well,
So
Dawn
being
Brothers,
able,
though, there was no adapting that. There was no adapting that.
well, like, no, this is us having the knowledge that the Power Ranger series is ending with Cosmic Fury.
True. True.
That adaptations is ending, and that they're wanting to do a full reboot, original reboot for the IP. So King Ogre hits, and what they decided to give us was almost an entire series of green screen with spandex that actually had armor plating,
Mhm.
and everyone was fantastic royalty and dramatic storytelling. Which I'm not a fan of drama,
But between
but
like this was like the Game of Thrones of Super Sentai. Like
yes, yeah, and
there
they
was like different, because each ranger represented a different kingdom, so they weren't always on the same
yeah,
team, and that's rare. They didn't team up. You didn't have that until episodes in.
yeah, and then going so far as making the Sixth Ranger the narrator from the
Oh, I
beginning.
loved it. Jeremy
That
Perossier. I love him. He is so awesome.
and like it was they nailed it, and avoiding spoilers, everyone's even saying that it like they nailed some story beats that hadn't been hit like that since the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Source Sentai.
Mm.
And that's a big deal to
Was that
say
Zero
that.
Ranger?
Yeah, yeah, like they nailed like that brotherly bonds thing that you hadn't
Yeah.
seen since Zero Ranger, and it was like it's good. Like that's good. Like
Yeah,
so
it was a great season. It's what brought me back into watching Sentai. It was the first time in a long time that I'd actually kept up with it while it was coming out,
Mhm.
because I'm sorry, Dawn Brothers just I couldn't. It looks fun. I'm gonna go back and watch
It
it,
does,
but I
dude.
couldn't keep week to week with it. Like there's been a few seasons that haven't quite hit with me. Like Kira Major, I think, was the last one I was really hyped on, though.